Hello everybody and welcome back to the Data Playbook. So as mentioned in a previous video, I'm going to go through the games pretty quickly here for the Sunday games. If you need more information or want to look at the details, you're welcome to pause and zoom in to any of the information. But otherwise, I'm just going to try to get through it pretty quickly. So let's get into it. And getting into the next game, you have Miami at Cleveland here. Cleveland favored on the money line with a spread of 2.5 and a total of 35.5. Most notably, the Dolphins have an allowed scoring rank of 4, meaning that they're pretty stingy at stopping any scoring from opposing teams. And the Browns have the worst scoring rank in the league, meaning they score the least amount of points out of any team in the league. So I can see why the total line's at 35.5. You're probably not going to get much out of Cleveland. I don't know about this money line. You do have an allowed rushing rank of 3, an allowed passing rank of 7 from Cleveland, so they have a better defense. Whereas Miami has an allowed rushing rank of 32, so they're the worst in the league at stopping the rush. But you have Cleveland, who's one of the worst teams at rushing in the league, so that probably doesn't matter too much. So yeah, I think this is just going to be a low-scoring game. I think the total line does predict that pretty well, but you make up your own decisions. Miami does average 81 fantasy points per game, so they do have scorers or people that catch the ball or however that works out, but they do get points more than average, I'd say, 19, about average in the league. One interesting note here is that Miami does get almost 82 fantasy PPR points per game. That puts them 19 overall, so not fantastic, but way better than the 70 over here from Cleveland. All right, and you've had a chance to look at the totals, but now I'm going to flash the averages here if you need any of that information or if that helps you in any way. Going through the quarterbacks, you have Tua for Miami and you have Dylan Gabriel for the Browns. 70 interceptions from Tua this season, an additional fumble caused by a sack, and 13 sacks suffered versus the 8 over here, and not great averages on your fantasy points. On average, here you go, as well as their breakdown week by week. One thing to note is that this week too, Gabriel only had 1 attempt, no completions, no yards, so this week kind of pulls down his averages. It's same with this week too here. So just keep that in mind with this average. It should be more close to about 200. And here's the running back information with A-Chain and Judkins. A-Chain getting a pretty good almost 20.6 PPR points per game. And then just flashing the averages here. This is what you get. And then looking at our receivers. And then here you have Waddle and Judy as your top receivers. Nothing to write home about these average fantasy points. I guess Waddle's not too bad if you needed them in a pinch here with PPR. And then these are the averages and their breakdown down here if you need that information. One thing to note is that Waddle does now have the largest share of receiving yards on the team, which overtakes Tyreek Hill, who is not in. And same over here with Jerry Jeudy, getting the largest share of receiving yards now. And your number 2 wide receivers here, if there's more information that's needed. Again, averages are pretty low for fantasy, but just in case you need them or want to know more information. And then switching over the averages here. One thing to note is that Malik Washington has a very small share of the team's receiving yards. Isaiah Bond has a little larger slice of the pie, about maybe 20%, but still not as impressive as Jerry Jeudy. And then looking at the tight ends, which again, I don't know why this happens, but you have this Njoku as the tight end listed as the number 1 tight end, and it happens over here too, but he's listed as out. So, and if we look at the injury, he's been ruled out for Sunday's game. So I don't know why they list him as the number 1 tight end when he's listed as out. Interesting to have to keep track of that. But it's also listed here in my depth chart, so I'm not sure why that's a thing. But instead, we'll look at, I suppose, Harold Fanning. So looking at the tight ends here, with Harold being the backup, Darren Waller being your starter over here, average of 15.2 PPR, that's not bad for a tight end, and an average of 10 points over here. I guess to note that Waller's only been in 3 games, and has had most of his points probably through touchdowns. Looking at the averages, this is what you get for your tight ends. And as usual, they get a pretty small share of the pie, maybe somewhere between 10 and 15%. Maybe a little higher over here for Harold, actually. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and got something out of it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. If there's more you want to see, leave a comment on what I can do better. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching.